Hello, it's Bibi here and welcome to the second part of this video tutorial to learn to stamp on fabric and make beautiful cloche purses. In the previous video, I explained how to trace the pattern to cut the fabrics, how to create your own designer fabric, and now I'm going to show you how to sew the purses and attach two different kind of metal frames in a very easy way. I hope you enjoy it. Here is the main fabric. This is the exterior fabric, or the one we just stamped, and this is the length of this piece. So the pattern should go horizontal. I'm going to turn this over, and behind I'm going to place the interlining just on the center, like so. I'm going to turn this over again, and then I place the lining facing down on the main fabric. Just like that. I need to make sure that everything is nice and flat. If you see here, this is the length of the fabric. Now I'm going to use some clips to keep everything in place. You can use pins if you want. I prefer the clips. And I'm going to stitch the top and the bottom. You can stitch this by hand or sew this by hand. Here and there, not the sides. Not the sides. Only the top and the bottom. Now I'm going to grab my sewing machine to do this, and I'm going to start sewing. I need to leave a seam allowance of 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter here from the edge of the fabric. So by using my sewing machine, if I align the presser foot with the edge of my fabric, I will get the perfect allowance. I don't need to do anything else. And I start sewing. There you go, I have sewn the top edge, and I'm going to sew the other edge, the bottom. Don't worry if you got an excess fabric here, you can just trim that. I have sewn the top and the bottom. If you see here, this is the length of my fabric, and I'm going to trim the excess of fabric from these seams as close as possible to those stitches, but never on top of the stitches, okay? Now I'm going to turn the right side of the fabric out, like so, and I'm going to give it a good press with my hands. I need to press the seams flat here, and I'm using my hands to pull them out towards the side, like so. Then I'm going to use my iron to make sure that those seams are completely flat and in place. Do not use steam when ironing. If you have used any water-based product when stamping your fabric, you can ruin your fabric in this moment. So do not use steam. Press the seams down, making sure everything is flat and nice. And now I'm going to fold this in half, aligning the top edges together. This has to be completely aligned, okay? And I'm going to clip these. Remember, you can use pins, but I found really easy to work with clips. You can also use paper clips if you don't have these clips. So just keep that in place. And now I'm going to use my sewing machine to sew a straight stitch over the edges here. Remember, it's only 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter allowance, so I'm going to do exactly the same I did before, just aligning the edge of my fabric with the presser foot of my sewing machine. And I just sew the stitch all the way along, back stitching in the corners. I finished that side, and I'm going to do exactly the same in the other side. I have finished sewing the sides here, and I'm going to trim the excess fabric from the seam as close to the stitches as possible. Keep cutting all the threads as well, the excess thread, and cut these corners as well, 1 and 2 corners. Now I'm going to turn out the wrong side of the fabric, like so, like that. With my hands, I'm going to place everything in order. I can use my score tool to help myself to do this. And then I'm going to sew a straight stitch again here. Something very, very important. You see here, there is my interlining. And I have all this space here, or this channel here, to sew my stitch just there. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to show you something very important here. You see the seam there. With this stitch, what we are going to do is to hide that. And I just have made something which is called French seam, to hide this seam inside the stitches. This side is finished, and this side here is not. You can see the seam. So what I'm going to do again is hide that seam with another stitch all over this side here, and just like I did in the other side. So now our purse is getting a lot of shape. Now it's time to add dimension. So I'm going to turn out the right side of the fabric, like so, and I have to make sure that the corners and everything is out, or I'm getting everything in place here in these corners. The next step is folding the pouch, like so. So we are going to align the seams in a diagonal. You can see here, it's in a diagonal, they are completely aligned. And then I'm going to use clips to hold the fabric in place. You can use pins, but sometimes the pins leaves marks also, so I like clips. And I'm going to use a ruler to mark 1 inch from the edge. Please pay attention that I'm tracing this line in the side we have sewn, where we have our French seam. And I'm going to do exactly the same to the other side. If you don't have a fancy ruler, you can use a normal ruler to do this. And you just trace a line 1 inch from that corner. You should get a wee triangle there. So I got those corners marked, and I'm going to use my sewing machine to sew a straight stitch on top of the lines. You can do that sewing by hand as well, making a very tight straight stitch. You can sew this corner once, but I just do it 3 times. Don't ask me why, I just do it. Then sew the other corner as you did with the other one, with the previous one. And now I'm going to trim those corners with scissors as close to those stitches as possible, like that. Remember, you are doing this in the right side of your purse. This is the right side first, And now I'm going to turn the ground side out again, and I'm going to stitch the corners, these corners down here, to create a French seam, just like we did at the sides. And I'm going to sew right here where I cannot feel bulky because the seam is underneath. So with these stitches here, I'm going to hide the seam underneath, just like I did at the sides. And we will get a nice finish in the front side of the purse and a nice finish inside as well. I'm going to do the same at the other corner. And I'm done. This is all I need to do to sew the purses. It was easy, isn't it? So all I have to do now is turn the right side of the fabric out and check if everything is okay. Sometimes if you sew more from one side than another here, your purse is going to look shrink or uneven. But this is looking good, so I'm finished with this part. And now I'm going to show you how to attach the metal frames to the purses. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish these two purses. This one here is a smaller one. I just made it exactly the same way that I just made the larger one, with a smaller pattern, of course. And I'm going to use a sew-in frame for this one. For the larger one, I'm going to use a glue-in frame, as I want to make sure that you are going to learn with me how to attach the different kind of frames you can get in the market. I'm going to start by attaching this glue-in frame. It measures 6 inches 3/4 or 17 centimeters width. All I have to do here is folding my purse in half, like so, and I'm going to mark the center of my purse here. And when pasting this frame to the purse, I need to make sure that this little ball here in the frame, almost all the frames has the same thing or something in the center, is going to be aligned with that mark. I'm going to use some cloth clips or these pegs, and also very important, this glue. Actually, in this process I'm going to do now, this is the most important thing. I bought it on Amazon and it seems to be available in many different countries, so I recommend this glue to do this. Now all I have to do is applying the glue in the channels of the frame. That's why these frames are called open channels, because they have those two channels there. And I'm going to apply the glue there, nice and evenly, all over the channel to the very end of that channel. I'm going to do this only in one of the sides of the frame or one of the channels. I'm going to leave the glue drying for 2 minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to join these parts together, and I'm going to press a little bit that fabric against the metal frame, like so. You can remove any excess of glue on the frame. This glue dries clear. It's just absolutely wonderful, honestly. And once you have placed the frame in place, you can use these clips. I just found these clips to be perfect for this look, perfect fit. So you can use these clips to hold that frame in place. And I just leave it dry for a couple of hours. When it's dry, I remove the clips and I paste the other side of the frame. Just like I showed you previously. And all I have to do is making sure that that's straight and is aligned with the other side. So I align the fabric first, and then I apply the glue and paste everything in place. I'm going to leave the glue drying while I show you how to attach the sew-in frame. And the width of this frame is 4 inches and the length 2.5 inches or 10 centimeters width by 6.5 centimeters. We are going to need any kind of thread and a very thin needle with a big eye. In that way, if you are going to use a thick thread, you can pass that thread through the needle eye. So what I'm going to do here is, because I don't have any embroidery thread in black color, I'm going to use a normal cotton thread, but I'm going to pass it twice through the eye of the needle. So that's how I get a stronger or thicker thread to pass through the holes in the metal frame. The thicker the thread, better to avoid splitting the thread when you are passing it through the holes in the metal frame. Now I fold the purse in half, I mark the center, place the metal frame on top, and it has these bits here that I'm going to align with that mark. Then I make a mark on my purse just where the corner of the frame is, and I make a knot just here, and like so. Then I open the frame and I place it next to the purse. I'm going to start working from the back of the holes, and I'm going to position the needle in diagonal, just like I'm doing here, in diagonal. Just like so. And then I'm going to pass the thread and the needle through the next hole, like that. Then from the back of the frame, search the next hole in the frame and pull up. So the fabric is going to be pulled up and it's going to get underneath the frame, and you will not be able to see the stitches. Another thing I like to do is I like to pass the thread several times in the first holes of the metal frame to make sure that is firmly attached to the purse in that area in which the fabric is going to get all the tension. And then I keep going.
Hey, if you wanna play, make it a brighter place. It'll take creation, imagination. Try to draw outside the line. Let us see inside your mind. You'll find inspiration. All I'm saying is you can do it. I wanna hear you say, I am independent. I am dedicated. Doing it my way, doing it my way. Yes, I am. I am in control. I am. Watch me go. Doing it my way, doing it my way. Can you hear me say, yes, I am. Lead, inspire destiny. Require every dream to believe. Take the chance, lead the dance, and run with what is in your heart. Let the magic start. You're in charge. Yes, you can. What's the plan? Come on, let's do this and do it now. I wanna hear you shout. I am independent. I am dedicated. Doing it my way, doing it my way. Yes, I am. I am in control.
And when I get this corner here, I just make a knot and I make sure it's not visible, just like so. And I'm done. I finished that side.
You can do it, change and grow. You can have it, don't you know? You can be it, anything, anything you want. I am independent. I am dedicated. Doing it my way, doing it my way. Yes, I am.
So there you go, a sew-in frame, and that's how it looks in the back. And now I'm going to sew in the other half. And I align the fabric, I make sure the metal frame is in the center, and I'm going to do exactly the same. So I'm not going to show you the whole bit here, but it's exactly, honestly, exactly the same I just did with the other half of the frame. Finish, yeah. And one thing is important. The more you do these kind of things, the quicker it is. Like everything in life, the most practice you get, the better for you. So now it's time to enjoy the magic of these frames and the perfect pattern I just teach you how to do. You're really going to avoid a headache because this is perfect. You see, it's the perfect fit. And what you have to do now is push the sides inside, fold your frame, and you are done. You got a purse. Isn't beautiful? Isn't easy? It's beautiful. I love them. So I'm going to show you another thing. This is a secret. You see, these frames are the same size. Why these purses look so different? I did this on purpose just to show you a trick here. With the pattern formula I give you, you are going to create a smaller purse because you are going to make a French seam in that corner and you are going to use more fabric in that corner. So your purse are going to be like this. Pay attention. Ta-da! They are going to be smaller. I cannot let you go without showing you this. It's an extra information that might be worthy for some of you. So I'm going to show you how to get a larger purse using the pattern I just teach you how to do in the same frame. So when tracing the marks to sew the corners to give dimension to the purse, do it only in the wrong side of the purse at 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters, like so. Do nothing else, and then you can trim those corners or just leave them like that. Or you can also make a French seam, but start making it on the front fabric at too little distance from the corners, saying 1/4 of an inch or 5 millimeters. So that's how you get larger purses, giving another shape using the same pattern I just teach you in the same metal frame. And if you do as I teach you before in this tutorial, you will get purses like this. Okay, so now let's do the magic with the glue in frame. I'm going to remove these clips here and I'm going to clean any excess of glue on the frame with my hands or with a towel. And then you only need to do as follows. Just pay attention. And the purse is finished. We are done. I also have made a large version of this purse, a little bit larger, and I'm going to show you here. Is this one. And that's all. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial and you could learn to make these beautiful purses that can be made in a variety of fabrics as well. Thank you very much for watching and happy crafting. Bye. Bye, Emma, say bye. Bye.